Okay, so now I'm doing, this is still chapter 2, unemployment. This is now clip 3 in this series. So now, according to my agenda, it's the 4 big types. I'm taking this actually from this textbook, Understanding Canadian Business, which is the textbook we used previously in Management 1P52, because it has a nice little summary chart. So I like it better, so I'm giving it to you. And also, I like to draw a lot of test questions from this stuff. So I would make sure, if I was a student in this class, to really nail this part, because this is stuff I like to test on. Okay, there are the 4 types. Okay, the first one is called frictional unemployment. Okay, so how can we detail what does frictional unemployment mean? Well, it basically means, in a sense, what it says. So it's sort of things are not going that well. Okay? It basically, I mean, if you want to think of it in a broad sense, it's like the normal turnover in the labor market. Okay, it's the simplest way of thinking of it. Right? This is like Bob comes to work doped up on drugs, Bob gets fired. That happens, Sally comes to work and says, I can't take this boss anymore. He's such a, pain in the butt, and I quit. That's it. I've had it. Storm out. That happens. People quit jobs. I mean, that's just because we're humans, right? So that is, in essence, the nature of it. Okay. The other thing that it includes is university students who just got their degrees, or college students got their diplomas, or some people just say got their high school diploma or whatever, and now they're out looking for their first job. Okay, so here's the definition from this book. Frictional unemployment, also called search unemployment, okay, refers to those people who have quit work because they didn't like the job. Okay, so this job just sucks, kind of thing. I can't stand it. It's like so boring, kind of thing. The boss, you can't stand the boss man. That's it. I can't stand you. So bye-bye. Or the working conditions. So maybe the job is, bad hours. It's really hot. It's smelly. It's stinky. It's dirty. You just don't like it. And who haven't yet found a new job. Okay. So it refers to those people who have quit work because they didn't like the job, the boss, or the working conditions, and who haven't yet found a new job. It also refers to those people who are entering the labor force for the first time, for example, new graduates, okay? Or are returning to the labor force after a significant time away, for instance, parents who raise children. There will always be some frictional unemployment because it takes some time to find a first job or a new job. Okay, this is hinting at my later discussion as to why a 0% unemployment rate is an unrealistic expectation in the labor markets. Okay, it's just not going to happen. Okay, so that is that. The next thing is structural unemployment. Okay. Now here's the definition. Structural unemployment refers to unemployment caused by the restructuring of firms, or by a mismatch between the skills or location of job seekers and the requirements or location of available jobs. For example, coal miners in an area where mines have been closed. So here's basically the essence of that, is it comes down to basically location and skill. It's a mismatch between the characteristics of the labor force and characteristics of the available jobs. Right? It's effectively what this boils down to is you have people have certain skills, okay, certain abilities. That's sort of the labor supply side of this. And then you have the companies who want to hire labor. That's the demand side. There's a mismatch between supply and demand. So in other words, it's like I only know how to speak, let's say, English, but I'm in an area where everyone speaks French. Okay, so I'll say I moved to somewhere in Quebec or something. So I don't have the skills that are appropriate to function in that job market. I just can't do it. Okay. Or it could be because it's also technological changes. All the people, let's say in the community, let's say only have, let's say, high school diplomas, and the jobs of that company happen to now all of a sudden require people to have, advanced computer skills. So that therefore, the solution, of course, would be give the people job training or something. That would be like the government response, some sort of back to work training program. Okay, so that's the whole idea of this, right? It also, it also could be the locational issue, right? So maybe the people, there's a whole bunch of people in the community, like this coal mine example, but the coal mine is now shut down. The coal mine is now, in a different province, right? So, the obvious solution would be make the people move from one province to the next province. Of course, there are barriers to this. Maybe people don't want to move. Could be, there could be other reasons as to why they don't want to move across provinces. Okay, so that's basically, so in other words, this structural unemployment is basically a good thing in some sense, because the economy is constantly changing. In other words, this sort of captures the dynamic nature of an economy. Okay, so just before I go on to the other two, I just want to mention at this point that frictional unemployment and structural unemployment is basically together constitute the reason as to why unemployment is probably never going to go to 0%. Okay, together they're actually called that NAIRU, the natural rate of unemployment. Okay, by definition, frictional unemployment plus structural unemployment together, they exist even when the national income is at its potential level. In other words, the economy, what that basically means is the economy is neither in a recessionary gap, or an inflationary gap. So in other words, the economy is at its full potential. So it's not a recession, not an inflationary or booming gap. So it's at full potential, and they will still exist. Okay, so they'll always be with us. That's why it's called the natural rate of unemployment, right? So actually, by definition, full employment, actually, the term full employment actually means, or is said to occur, when the only existing unemployment that exists is frictional and structural. Okay? I'm going to stop at this point because I want to keep it under 10 minutes. I'm going to come back and talk about cyclical and seasonal. Okay, just briefly, cyclical unemployment, also called demand deficit, or deficit demand, sorry, I got it backwards. Deficit demand is really nefarious. It's bad. And if the United States, and then of course the logical corollary of that being the rest of the world, if the United States actually goes into a depression or a very severe recession because of this credit crisis in the United States, it just never seems to end. And of course that would bring down the rest of the world. And there's no question that if the United States had set that off, I mean, you can't reasonably believe that Europe would not be affected, and also China and India too. I mean, because it's all interlinked. We don't live in an autarky where each country is sort of in its own little world and it has like a iron wall around it and nothing gets in, nothing gets out. We're all integrated. So a collapse in the United States would, of course, have global implications. I mean, that's my opinion, of course, but I think it's a reasonable prediction. And so cyclical could become an issue, and that's what I'm going to discuss next.